When I was young, I started teaching myself how to draw in perspective. I was given a set of drafting tools that my mom had when she was in design school, and they came in a suede tote bag that also had like triangles and scales and other tools that I could use. But it came with a perspective book also, and I think it was like from the 80s. I sat down, and since I didn't have any patience, I skipped to the good stuff at the end of the book to learn how to set up a horizon line and vanishing points and all that. But I skipped over how to start with a plan and elevation and how to determine a field of view to set up the drawing so that you had a more or less accurate representation of a building or a space that matched what an eye might actually see. I would start by drawing one of two objects. On the one hand, it would be something that was at the scale of furniture or at a human scale. And on the other hand, I would start drawing objects that were like the scale of a building. So if I set out drawing, say, a chair, I would draw the chair first, and based on the chair's qualities, that would determine the vanishing points. And then I would continue constructing a chair from there. I would add other objects, I would layer them, scale different things, and create a composition in which the architectural surround was kind of a last concern, and it resulted in these kind of bland architectural spaces, but interesting still lifes that referenced Architectural Digest magazines, the loft in that sitcom show that my parents were watching, or photo journals from around the world. But if I started drawing an object at the scale of a building, then I would start with the rationale that would produce interesting forms. I would draw the construction lines really lightly with 2H lead and fill in the B-spline that would ultimately become a wild spiral staircase with a brutalist style finished and rendered in board-formed concrete, set in the middle of kind of like a fantastic architectural setting that had no objects in it. It was just a building. I would reference the construction of the Denver Art Museum, for example, that I was watching happening live when I was young. Or I would reference the Denver skyline that I could see from the top of the Cherry Creek Dam. Or I would reference the postcards that my dad would send me from New York when he went on business trips, fascinated with these buildings that were objects in their own right. And all these drawings carried somewhat of an improvisational tone in their construction, but they were constantly in pursuit of two distinct priorities. On the one hand, some drawings prioritized aesthetics, but on the other hand, the drawings that were more interested in exploring form were interested in investigating the rationale of organization. And in retrospect, I could divide my first portfolio that I ever made with these graphite drawings into two categories. One that was kind of interested in the recombination of cultural references for the sake of creating some kind of domestic scene, and another that was interested in pushing the boundaries of organizational rationale. And I wonder if there's kind of a queer idea in working in those two separate ways, being the same person, but kind of engaging in different aesthetic languages at the same time as I was teaching myself how to draw, which again, I don't think would have been possible if I hadn't taught myself how to draw the wrong way.